Until September the 11th, 2001, Mike Benfanti and John Sakira were regular office workers. But on that day, they struggled with conflicting instincts and a series of life and death decisions, but still found the courage to help someone in great danger. Tina Hansen was working as usual on the 68th floor of the North Tower of the World Trade Center.
In 1 second, my life was normal, and in the very next second, the building behaved in a way that I had never felt before.
Up on the 81st floor, Mike and John were just below the point of impact.
I guess it felt like an earthquake, and I saw flames shoot down from above and debris falling.
We looked out the window and saw some pretty horrible things, saw some, I guess, maybe some bodies and clothes and things.
Containing rising panic, Mike and John began to evacuate down the fire escape. On their way down, they came across Tina and 2 others in an empty office, struggling with Tina's emergency wheelchair.
All of a sudden, this guy started banging on the front door.
I looked behind the glass doors and there were these women just standing there, and I was like, this doesn't make sense. You gotta get moving here.
They'd never met Tina before, but could see she needed help. Mike and John decided to carry her down the 68 floors to safety.
There was no hesitation on their part. They didn't even seem to think twice about it.
Putting aside their own need to escape, Mike and John chose instead to help Tina and get her out of danger.
You don't know what's going through your mind. You're not thinking, okay, I'm going to be carrying this person down 68 flights. It was just instinct. I mean, it was just reaction.
Mike and John carried Tina down flight after flight. Then, almost an hour into the grueling descent, a fireman offered them a chance to leave Tina at an evacuation station on the 18th floor.
My first reaction was to agree to that. But before I could get the words out of my mouth, Michael said, no, we've come this far, we're going to take it all the way.
I looked at John, and John looked at me, and he's like, all right, let's, we're not letting go. And we didn't.
I went along with his instinct, even though mine was different. I would have waited on the 18th floor. And I probably would not have gotten out in time.
As they descended, falling debris had blocked the stairwell, and the lights failed, plunging everything into darkness.
But we couldn't see where we were going, and then we'd have to move this debris and pick her up and carry her over. And we'd go one way and there was no way out. We'd go another way, we couldn't get out, and now panic is starting to set in more and people are becoming more frantic.
It was almost like you were staring death right in the face. But even at that point, not knowing if we were going to get out, there still wasn't the option in my mind to leave Tina.
After battling for over an hour, they finally made their way out of the building just in time. Tina was driven away in an ambulance to safety only 2 minutes before the North Tower collapsed.
I was just so relieved. I was so grateful, mostly, to everybody I had met along the way, who had just been there for me, even though they didn't know me from Eve,
In the darkest of hours, Mike and John had put their own survival instinct aside and emerged as heroes.
It was amazing, because that was probably the worst situation, or the one situation where you can make an excuse to say, okay, I'm just going to think about myself, and I don't really have to worry about anybody else. But that's not what happened.
I could have been another victim of other human beings who were were carrying out mass murder on that day. But because I was fortunate enough to meet women and men who acted on other impulses, I was not another casualty.